I want to take this opportunity to explain what the invitation of Finding Voice, the 20-day live challenge, is all about. My name is Rocco Jarman. I'm the founder of a project called A Better Way, and I'll be following up with a second video or another video about the A Better Way project so that people can understand succinctly or in a nutshell what I'm actually talking about and what the invitation is to. I do live talks every other day, mostly daily, and I keep bringing up this idea of finding voice. This is not one of my classic live videos. It's not going to be a ramble that goes everywhere. I'm specifically talking about this invitation to finding voice, what finding voice means in an archetypal sense, how you can take part in the challenge, and how it can profoundly change the way that you see yourself, your relationship to your own form of genius and the gift that you came here to share, finding your authentic voice and standing more comfortably within that, and then finding the courage to be seen so that we can all join in this unfolding human conversation. So what is finding voice and what do I mean? Finding voice is an archetypal invitation. So we don't mean it in a literal sense of finding your voice. It's when somebody says, they're a person of their word, or they were speaking in someone else's voice, or the artist, I haven't found my voice yet. We know what they mean, and that's the archetypal interpretation of voice. And voice is not something that we need to find out in the world, it is something that we need to find inside of ourselves. So the format is you go live on any platform whatsoever for 20 days. Switch the camera on and speak your thought stream unrehearsed into the world. There is a part of our subconscious and our integrated embodied experience of being a human being that doesn't know how to speak directionally into the void, into the camera. And this is true for our work in our writing on Substack. And it's true for all of the small interactions we have with other human beings. Essentially, every single one of us is a communicator. And if you care about something in the world, you'll recognize that we get these very small windows of interaction between ourselves and the human beings that we care about, whether those are audience members, other human beings in trivial transactions online, or meaningful exchanges, debates that we get into online, or moments as a parent when, I have a 4-year-old and there's some times that I want to really connect with what's going on and I want to impart some sort of insight or wisdom or show of care. And there's this tiny window of her attention in which I have to transmit both meaning and sincerity and something that can resonate with that other little human being on their journey in a meaningful and lasting way. And in that sense, we're all just communicators and we all are stuck with this very transient medium of exchange. And so it behooves all of us, if we care about something deeply in the world, to find our voice in this sense so that we can use it more effectively in these tiny moments of exchange and make those moments have more poignance and more meaning. So I'm just going to keep checking my notes. You speak your thought stream for 10 to 20 minutes, even if at the beginning you have nothing to say and you feel profoundly self-conscious. Just speak about that. And you will be surprised at the quality of human beings that show up in the field. And even if no one shows up, you're not doing it for other people. You are doing it for you, right? Do not be afraid of making further noise on the internet. The internet is a noisy place already. You're also allowed to practice in this world. You're also allowed to take up a footprint. You're also allowed to have your voice heard. And you're allowed to speak imperfectly. Wouldn't you wish the same freedom for any person coming into the world trying to exist in this virtual reality that we've helped create for ourselves? You're allowed to practice out in the world as well. And remember, what you can connect with when you're practicing is your profound sense of meaning, the thing that you find most beautiful to your soul, the thing that you care for most in the world. That is the reason that you are learning to use your voice, right, and find your voice. Remember the videos, the selfies that we post are filtered and doctored. They're the ones that cast us in the most attractive light. And it's the selfies that we don't post that are the true us. That's the true you. Yeah. So it's important that you watch these videos back every single day and you encounter that cringe and you look and you see how you show up and the awkward moments that you had, but also the good parts that you had, because you will find flow eventually. The whole exercise of finding voice is about finding a sense of flow and recognizing what that feels like and looks like to watch, because you will suddenly, the whole arrangement will be more attractive to another human soul when you're authentically in flow and when you're just being yourself. So it's fine if life intervenes on you and you skip a day or you don't do it every single day. That's quite okay. It's just don't get to the point where you're making new excuses for yourself to not continue something that you know might be uncomfortable but is deeply necessary. You don't have to say anything profound. The artifact is not for the world so they can learn some profound depth about you. As it happens, when I do a 20-day live challenge, I talk about things that I care about because it's so much easier for me to connect with that sense of profound meaning inside of myself. Makes it so much easier. And then I invoke in my mind the kind of personality that I have spoken to online, especially like I have a friend of mine from Substack that's just joined in this live video to be part of this conversation. And I know who I'm speaking to. I'm speaking to Zoe and the other folks that have been part of that conversation with me. And therefore, I can employ a directionality. Now, we don't always know such people, but we know what it is we care about. And we know the kind of people that will find such things meaningful and resonant. And we invoke that persona in our minds, and then we speak directionally, intentionally towards that person. That means we have to develop an interiority. We have to know what our kind of people sound like. And if we know what our kind of people sound like and how they behave towards us when we speak vulnerably and how they respond when they hear things that they care about, and when there's a kindredness of what we care about, what we sorrow about, the beauty we would wish is living in the world. If you can connect with that person, it means that the signal that you are giving out is resonating with such people. And the electronic algorithms that we're all subjected to are highly imperfect. But we're all transmitting our signal on that carrier signal. And if we can imbue more of our authenticity, more of our beauty, more of that context of resonance out in the world, it has a higher chance of reaching the kind of people who we want our message to reach when we eventually begin speaking. That might be as a parent, it might be as a leader, it might be somebody who cares about the plight of our environment or animals. If you speak from your heart and you know who you're speaking to, that vector of direction creates something quite powerful. Remember, the idea here is to just show up unrehearsed, to be able to show up in any of these small moments unrehearsed and just have fluent access to our own authenticity, our own sense of what is most beautiful in the world. Because that means we can always live with the question, what does love look like right now? There is no right way. There are no only ways, but there are better and worse ways. And what we're really trying to avoid is future regret, the kind that when we reflect on it, we realize was an injury to our soul or the soul of the world. Something diminished our light or helped us go down a path which made us less in some way. And we're trying to avoid that. And so the only way to avoid that is to be able to show up in any given moment living with a question, what does love look like right now? And in order to do that, we need to be undistracted by the assault on the world of all of our senses. We need to know how to be present in any moment. And that takes a kind of psychological muscle and presence, which is enormously served and developed and activated by doing such a practice, finding voice, the 20-day live challenge. So that's one of our big whys. Remember, we don't need to become an internet personality. We don't need to show up as if we're a polished public speaker. We don't need to have courage before we begin. All of those things, that fluency of being a public speaker, that polishedness that we would like to inhabit when we speak at all times, that courage and that confidence is not something that you get before, and then when you get it, you do the thing. You get it from doing the thing. You get it from doing the thing. And the aim is to become an authentic human capable of being seen. And by being seen, I mean seen in an archetypal sense, where you feel seen, you know? And this requires enormous vulnerability. And all authenticity requires vulnerability. The nice thing is, when you watch yourself back at the end of every single session for those 10 or 20 minutes, and you look at the way that you showed up, there will be moments where you feel a feeling and you go, that was it. And there'll be moments when you feel, I kind of cringe. Both of those are profoundly necessary feedback signals that you only get when you are stepping into your own vulnerability live in the crucible of the unfolding moment, in the glaring light of the witness of other people, in good faith and bad. There's something special that happens, and when you can watch that and empathize with the one that is trying to emerge, you will notice moments of authenticity and moments of inauthenticity, moments of flow and moments of that look cringy and felt cringy at the time. The cringe is a signal to say, that wasn't the real me. I'm locking that in. Now I can do a different thing. What else have I got to say? You did not come here to play small. You did not come here to play small. There is some thing, a dream, a vision of possibility, some beauty that your heart is longing for, that is missing from the world, that you wish you could call into it or speak to other people about and have a resonance in the field. Because by doing that, you attract the kind of people who also are missing that beauty in the world. But you know what I'm missing in the world is noble leadership, noble, visible leadership in the world. I miss that so much. I find it so beautiful when I encounter it, and I find it so rare. And I know that so much of our illness is because the people who are leading us are not leading because they are wise or because they are benevolent. They are precisely doing that because they are not. And so it is something that I long for and miss in the world so much. I find it so beautiful when I encounter it. Now I know what I find beautiful by that which I long for the most. Yeah. And those forms of longing inside of us, those forms of deep unrequitedness, they speak to us about what is most beautiful to our soul, which that precise agony and longing is our invitation to talk about, to create, to shine a light on such things in the world, because it's through the shining of that light and through our forms of imperfect expression. If it's devoted towards that, that's what devotion means. It's touching a longing and a desire in your heart, an unrequitedness, and leaning towards its fulfillment and towards its arrival in whichever way, and make beautiful that journey and make beautiful that sorrow and make beautiful that unrequitedness and that longing. Stop bitching about what is wrong with the world and start worrying much more about what is still possible from here, right? If we do that, we reach the end of our lives with a profound sense of meaning inside of us. And when we reach the end of a conversation or an exchange with our children or a team meeting or having published something on Substack or having an exchange with somebody in the comment section of notes, when you have a sense of profound meaning, it's because you stood up for and you held the line for and you loved what you loved. And you found a beautiful way of saying that didn't have to create more antagonism or drama, or was always invitational towards that dream. You always feel good about that. And the opposite always results in regret and unrequitedness of a different kind. We can have the conversations we mean to have, and we can be filled up and made larger by our appreciation and by our connection and resonance of such appreciation in other people. So if we're all sharing these sort of beautiful ideas, that's how we don't remain small. But if we're afraid to use our voice, if we're afraid to be seen, if we are more concerned about the miserable, bitter smallness of our current online conversations, rather than talking about that which we care about the most, with authenticity and vulnerability, Yeah, then we stay small. I'll finish off by saying one of the reasons we do this practice, this finding voice practice, is because the practice develops a fluency in a language that we haven't had well developed in our society, the language of soul, the archetypal natural language of meaning and authenticity. That which we find most beautiful, we find better language for over time. And we inhabit that language when we speak about it so that we become more fluent. Watching ourselves talk about that and going through that process repeatedly helps us become more fluent in that language. It's our sense of meaning. And if we ever mean to touch genius or develop our own forms of genius or develop these deeper forms of intimacy with with these gifts and these talents that we all have, right? If we want to connect more with inspiration, the muse people talk about, that kind of inspiration, it requires a kind of intimacy with what is most true inside of you. And that intimacy is required for our access to flow. In other words, if we want that gift and that genius, not just if we don't want to just discover it inside of ourselves, but we want it to live through us and live through our work. If we want to catch fire by the muse, and channel our forms of genius again, which we find most beautiful to our souls, that requires flow, right? You can't be editing and thinking and getting in your own way. It has to be something that flows through you. In order to access that flow, you have to have a profound fluency in your own natural state and a comfort with discomfort and a comfort with imperfection, because the virtuoso music player or rapper or violinist, they don't hit that flow. And then when something unexpected or surprising arrives in the field, some action, some stumble in their dance, some interruption, it doesn't throw them off their game. It just becomes part of the woven conversation, and they respond to that in conversation and wrap it up into it. There was an artist, a television artist called Bob Ross, I think his name was, and he used to talk about happy accidents. And whatever happened on the easel, he would make accidents, and then he would normalize to all the watchers to say, it doesn't matter that you made an accident. It's just a happy accident, and we'll make it part of the picture. And that belief that everything that arrives, you can make part of the conversation and still make it beautiful without taking anything away from what you're saying or what you're doing, that is what flow means. And it takes that precise thing to connect with your forms of genius. This practice will remind you who you are, instead of letting algorithms and performative influencer culture tell us who we are. So my invitation to you is, if you want to find your voice, if you want to develop deeper courage to be seen, and I do mean truly seen, for who you are and what you care about most, and to allow such a deeper intimacy with your own form of genius and allow it to live through you and tap into flow in a meaningful sense, even in difficult moments, even about difficult topics, because those moments and those topics are only difficult because you care so profoundly about the outcome. If you didn't care about the outcome, what would matter? What would matter? So this is a way to improve all of the projects in your life that you care about the most. If you want to take part in this, please, for goodness sake, include me and include the A Better Way project, because we're trying to promote such ideas and gather such voices in the world to share in community and hold space for each other, hold space for the bright ideas that are coming through us, and find ways to platform them to combat the undead algorithm and the prevailing sickness that we have called normal. Because the only response to such an absence of humanity is more humanity, more of a humane response, more soul-led, more authenticity, more forms of human genius and courage, right, to speak directly into this moment. Folks, thank you very much for your time. I do so hope you take part in the Finding Voice, a 20-day challenge. I'll find a way to put on my Substack and on the A Better Way Substack links to people who are pledging and saying, "I'm doing this. Come and be part of my my practice," so that we can all pop in on each other's work from time to time and be the space holders that we would wish for. Be the example of that which we cherish and value so much in other people. These are the kind of ideas that we can share. So I will leave in this little video when I publish it. I will make sure that there's links to all of the ways and all of the necessary information and a write-up that you might need so that you can take part in this and then help the community grow around it. Thank you very much. Take care.